Hello everyone. So we are moving to the last part of the fifth module, forced vibrations. So in the previous two sessions we were dealing with free undamped and free damped vibrations. Now we are going to deal with forced vibrations. Let me remind you the difference between forced vibration and a free vibration. In case of free vibrations, we'll be giving an initial disturbance and we'll be removing that disturbance, or initial force will be given and that force will be removed. But in case of a forced vibrating system, continuous force will be given. Excitation will be there externally in order to maintain that vibration or maintain that oscillatory motion. In case of a free vibrating system, we are giving only an initial input. It might be a disturbance such as a displacement or a force, and we'll be returning that force. But in case of a in case of a forced vibrating system, we'll be continuously supplying force to the vibrating system. So of that, we'll be dealing with harmonically excited vibrations. Forced vibration can be of many types. We can give an external step force, or it can be a transient force or a non-periodic force. But we are going to learn more about the response of a harmonically excited system. Harmonically excited vibration means the force which we are giving will be harmonic in nature. Okay, it will either be a sine wave or a cos wave. It will be harmonic in nature. So what will be the response of a vibrating system when it is acted upon by a harmonic vibration? That is what we are going to find out. So as you have said, the response of a single degree of freedom system to a harmonic force. The force is of the form f of t is equal to f0 sine omega t. F of t means the force is being a function of time. F0 is the amplitude of that force, and it's a sine component of omega t. Omega is actually the forcing frequency. We have learned about omega n as a natural frequency of the vibrating system, but this is the frequency of the forcing function. F0 sine omega t is a forcing function, F0 is its amplitude, omega is a forcing frequency. Okay, so this is actually a function of time. Now you have to understand one thing. When we are applying an external harmonic force, the external frequency omega, when it becomes equal to the natural frequency of the system, that phenomenon or that condition is called resonance. At that particular point, the amplitude of vibration increases abruptly and to huge levels. That is actually the most undesirable case, and it causes failure of systems. So in case of resonance, omega will be equal to omega n. Okay, so that is a condition. So here we are going to analyze the response of vibrating systems when we are applying a harmonic force. So of that, the first one is response of an undamped forced vibration. Undamped system means there is no damper, only a spring and a mass will be there. As you can see in the figure, there is a spring of stiffness k and there is a mass. So instead of a displacement x, we are giving a continuous force or harmonic force f0 sine omega t. So the equation of motion, as you know, in case of a free vibration, it will be mx double dot plus kx is equal to 0. Okay, since there is no external excitation, mx double dot plus kx is equal to 0. But in this case, there is an external force f0 sine omega t. Therefore, the equation of motion will be mx double dot plus kx is equal to f0 sine omega t, where f0 sine omega t is the external excitation which we are giving, which is of the harmonic form. Now, as you can see, this is a non-homogeneous differential equation. Mx double dot plus kx is equal to f0 sine omega t. In the RHS, it's not 0. There is a component f0 sine omega t. Therefore, it's a non-homogeneous equation. So as you know, as you have already learned, the solution of a non-homogeneous equation will be having a complementary function as well as a particular integral. Okay. So this equation also will be having two parts. The solution of this equation will also be having two parts. The first part is called complementary function. Second part is called particular integral. The complementary function will be represented hereafter as xh. Okay, that is a solution of homogeneous equation, xh plus xp. xp is a particular integral. So as you can see, the first part, mx double dot plus kx is equal to 0. The solution of that equation will be given by complementary function. And that of the second part, that is contributed by f0 sine omega t, will be given by the particular integral. So this non-homogeneous equation, differential equation itself, will be differentiated into two parts, which gives solution as complementary function and particular integral. Okay, so the solution is of the form xh plus xp. As you know that the complementary function xh, that is the solution of the LHS, that is mx double dot plus kx is equal to 0. That is a homogeneous part of this equation. The right hand side will be 0. The solution of that equation is a cos omega nt plus b sin omega nt. We have discussed this in the first session where we discussed about undamped free vibrating systems. There we found out the solution for the equation mx double dot plus kx is equal to 0 as a cos omega nt plus b sin omega nt. After substituting for a and b, this equation can be rewritten as c sin omega nt plus phi. Okay, c and phi are constants which can be found out using the initial conditions, and so c sin omega nt plus phi represents the solution of the homogeneous part of this equation, which is mx double dot plus kx is equal to 0. The solution of that part is given by xh is equal to c sin omega nt plus phi. Now we have to find out the particular integral. So how to find out the particular integral? So since you know that this forcing function is also harmonic in nature, we can assume that the response will be also harmonic. So we are assuming that the particular integral xp is of the form x sin omega t. X is capital X, which is a maximum amplitude of that response. Omega is a as we have seen is a forcing frequency. So the solution of the RHS will also be of the form x sin omega t. So substituting for xp, and so xp can be substituted in the equation in equation 1, that is our governing equation, and we can solve for x. So for x double dot we can substitute, and x also we can substitute, and thereby we will get the value capital X is equal to f0 by k minus m omega square. So what we are doing is we are assuming that the particular integral is also a forcing function, is also a harmonic function. So xp can be written as x sin omega t. We will be substituting that value in the first equation, that is mx double dot plus kx is equal to f0 sin omega t. We will be substituting for the x double dot and x, and simplifying we'll find out that x is equal to f0 by k minus m omega square. So xp will be equal to substituting the value of capital X f0 by k minus m omega square into sin omega t. So the total solution, the general solution of this equation is equal to xh plus xp, that is complementary function plus particular integral. So the whole equation will be of the form c sin omega nt plus phi plus f0 by k minus m omega square into sin omega t, or by rearranging c sin omega nt plus phi, dividing the second part divided by in the numerator and denominator by k, f0 by k is equal to, or taking that k outside and substituting 1 minus omega by omega in the whole square, because we are from the denominator we are taking k outside. Okay, so it will be 1 minus m by k into omega square. So this m by k is 1 by omega in the whole square. So substituting that, we will get 1 minus omega by omega in the whole square into sin omega t. So that is a solution, or that is a response for a undamped forced vibration. So as you know, it's a non-homogeneous, the governing equation is a non-homogeneous equation. It will be having two parts. The first part is a complementary function, which we have already derived in the first session. The second part, we are assuming that the particular integral is of also harmonic and is of the form x sin omega t, and substituting that in the governing equation and solving for x, we get this value. And finally the solution will be the complementary function plus particular integral. So that is a response of a undamped forced vibration. Next one is the response of damped forced vibration. As you can see in this figure, there is a spring, there is a mass, and there is a damper. The dashport C represents the damper, that is represented using a dashport. As you can see, f of t, a forcing function f of t, is applied in the downward direction, and the free body diagram is also shown. Kx is upward, Cx dot is acting upward, Ft is the only force which is acting downward, and we know that the inertia force will be acting in the opposite direction. So as a result, mx double dot plus Cx dot plus Kx will be equal to f of t. In the case where it was free damped vibration, the equation was mx double dot plus Cx dot plus Kx is equal to 0. Here that is not the case. We are continuously applying a force f of t. It's a function of t. Now, as you know that this will also be having, since this is also a non-homogeneous equation, this will also be having two parts. The solution will have a complementary function and a particular integral. The complementary function will be the solution of the LHS, that is mx double dot plus Cx dot plus Kx is equal to 0. The solution of that part is called the particular complementary function. and the whole equation, the RHS, including the RHS, that is called the particular integral. So one thing you have to take care of here is that the complementary function, as you know, is actually the solution of free damped system, that is mx double dot plus cx dot plus kx is equal to 0. So in that case we have discussed three cases where where the vibration dies out. First one is overdamped condition, second one is underdamped, and third one is critically damped. In all those three cases we found out that the vibration dies out with respect to time. When the time goes, the vibration gradually dies out in exponential form in both of the cases. So in any way, if mx double dot plus cx dot plus kx is equal to 0, that is free damped vibration, in that case the solution of that is given by complementary function, which means that the complementary function is actually representing a case where the vibration dies out, okay, which is shown in the first graph. In the right hand side there is three graphs shown. The complementary, the first graph shows the complementary function with respect to time. You can see that the vibration dies out. This shows the case of an underdamped system where you have oscillations which have reduced amplitudes, so the vibration gradually dies out. But in case of the particular integral, considering the solution regarding particular integral, we know that that vibration persists until we keep that force. So continuously a force is acting on the system, and the particular integral will represent the response of that forcing function, okay. So that is shown in the second figure, particular integral, and the combination of these two solutions are shown, the net solution is shown in the third figure. So we have to understand one thing: even though this is a forced damped system, the forcing function, the solution due to the forcing function is called the particular integral, and the solution due to the left hand side is called the complementary function. So the solution representing the complementary function dies out with time, but the particular integral stays until the force is applied. So gradually after a regular interval of time, we can see that there is only the particular integral which is existing. This state of vibration is called steady state vibration, okay. The case where the vibration persists and the vibration is caused by the externally applied force. After a period of time, due to the damping, the inherent vibration that is an underdamped vibration, or the case of overdamped vibration, that case dies out. The complementary function actually dies out eventually, but the particular integral exists. So the vibration which represents a particular integral alone, that is called steady state vibration, and the part of vibration which dies out with time, that is called transient vibration, okay. So there are two cases here, transient vibration and a steady state vibration. So hereafter, as we know, after a regular period of time, the complementary function will die out, only the particular integral will exist. So we are going to consider the cases of steady state vibrations hereafter, okay. So we'll look in detail to find out the equation of motion of a free damped vibration. This is a first figure shows the case where you have a forcing function f0 sin omega t. We are pulling it downward, and as you can see, the forces are as shown. The free body diagram is also shown. Mx double dot, which is the inertia force, is acting upward. Cx dot, which is a damping force, is also acting upward. Sx, here it is shown Sx, it's actually kx, which is the stiffness or the spring force that is acting upward, and f0 sin omega t is acting downward. So the equation of motion will be given by mx double dot plus cx dot plus kx is equal to f0 sin omega t. As we have discussed earlier, this solution will be also having two parts. First one is a complementary function. As we have seen in free damped vibrations, we are considering the case of underdamping, because that is the most common damped vibration which we are observing, where there are oscillatory motions. So in case of an underdamped system, this is the solution that we have already seen in the previous session. Cf is equal to xh is equal to c e raised to minus epsilon omega nt sin omega dt plus phi 1. We have already derived this equation in the previous session. So that is a complementary function. Please note that this complementary function represents the solution of the part where mx double dot plus cx plus kx is equal to 0. This is the part which actually dies out during the course of time. Now, we have to find out the particular integral also, because this is a non-homogeneous equation. So let us assume that pi is also a harmonic function, and it is of the form xp is equal to x sine omega t minus phi. And similarly, as we have done in the previous session, xp, substituting the value of x in the main equation, we can find out that capital X is equal to f0 divided by root of k minus m omega square the whole square plus c omega the whole square. Okay. So we are assuming that the particular integral is of the form capital X sine omega t minus phi, and substituting that in the equation 2 and solving for x, you can find out that x is equal to f0 by root of k minus m omega square the whole square plus c omega the whole square. So xp, the complementary function xp, is given by substituting the value of x. It will be f0 by root of k minus m omega square the whole square plus c omega the whole square into sine omega t minus phi. Actually, this minus phi may be represented as a phase difference, but here we are x and phi are both constants which can be found out by the boundary conditions. Now the total solution is equal to xh plus xp, that is complementary function plus particular integral. By adding the two terms, you will get the net solution. So this is a solution, or this is a response of a forced damped vibrating system which is of single degree of freedom. Okay, so that is how you find out. So this is one of the most important topics. This is magnification factor. It is also called amplitude ratio. It is also called amplitude factor. It's also called dynamic magnifier. Any of these terms can be used to specify the magnification factor. So what is magnification factor? Coming to that, we have learned that in the previous slide we saw that the solution for x in case of a forced damped vibration is x is equal to f0 divided by root of k minus m omega square the whole square plus c omega the whole square. Now rearranging it again, I am taking k outside from the denominator. That will become 1 minus m by k omega square the whole square plus c by k omega the whole square, and the k will go to the numerator. F0 by k will be there. Now in the right hand side there are few equations which I have written. We are going to substitute for certain things in the equation. So we know that k by m is equal to omega n square. K by m equal to omega n square. We also know that Cc, critical damping, is equal to 2m omega n, and damping ratio epsilon is equal to C by Cc. If so, C by k can be written as C by Cc into Cc by k, where C by Cc, as we know, is the damping ratio, that is damping C by Cc is actually the damping ratio. Now into Cc, for Cc we are going to substitute 2m omega n divided by k. So epsilon into, we know that m by k is omega n, m by k is 1 by omega n square, so that becomes 2 by omega n. So this equation becomes 2 epsilon divided by omega n. Okay, so these two substitutions I am going to make in this equation. So instead of m by k I am going to write 1 by omega n square, and instead of c by k I am going to write 2 epsilon by omega n. So the equation will be of this form: f0 divided by k, 1 minus omega by omega n the whole square plus 2 epsilon omega by omega n the whole square. Okay, this equation will take this form. Now magnification factor is defined as x divided by f0 by k, taking the numerator to the left side. X by f0 by k is equal to 1 divided by root of 1 minus omega by omega n square the whole square plus 2 epsilon omega by omega n the whole square. This term x by f0 by k is called the magnification factor or the dynamic magnifier. Now we will explain more about this. As we have said, mf or the magnification factor is given by x divided by f0 by k is equal to 1 divided by the following terms. So what is x? X is actually, as we said, the amplitude of the solution of the particular integral. That is, particular integral is something which persists throughout, the amplitude of steady state vibration. So particular integral represents steady state vibration, and x, capital X, is the amplitude of steady state vibration. Steady state vibration is caused by the harmonic forcing function. that is x divided by F0 by k. F0 by k is the static deflection. We know that force divided by stiffness gives the displacement. Okay, force per static deflection, that is the displacement F0, that is the F0 by k. So magnification factor can be defined as a ratio of dynamic amplitude to static amplitude of motion. Dynamic amplitude means the amplitude of steady state response. Static amplitude means the force the amplitude caused by the static deflection, that is F0 divided by k. That term is called static deflection. So x by F0 by k will give you the magnification factor. So if you are plotting magnification factor to omega by omega n, you can see that this is the graph which you can see for most where epsilon is equal to here it is shown theta. Epsilon is actually the damping ratio, which is equal to C by Cc. For values of epsilon is equal to 0, that is when there is no damping, you can see that the magnification factor is so high, so it goes to infinity. Okay, magnification factor is very high and it goes to infinity. That is the magnitude of the forcing function or the steady state amplitude, the ratio of the steady state amplitude to that of the static amplitude, which means that the amplitude of vibration of the steady state of the particular integral x, capital X, will be extremely high when there is no damping at all. Okay, and when omega by omega n equal to 1, you can see the equation in the denominator. When omega by omega n equal to 1, the first term will become 0. Okay, the second term will be 2 epsilon omega by omega n. When there is no epsilon, the whole denominator becomes 0. Therefore 1 by 0 is infinity. Therefore the magnification factor becomes infinite when the frequency ratio omega by omega n equal to 1 and when there is no epsilon. So that is the inference from this equation. The magnification factor increases as the damping decreases, or vice versa. As you can see, the since epsilon is in the denominator, as it increases, the magnification factor decreases. As the epsilon increases, magnification factor decreases. As epsilon decreases, magnification factor increases. So that is obvious, because when there is no damping, the magnitude of vibration will be very high. When there is enough damping, the magnitude of vibration will be low. And when epsilon is equal to 0, that is when there is no damping at all, and when omega by omega n equal to 1. Omega by omega n equal to 1 means when the frequency of forcing system is equal to the natural frequency. That is a case of resonance. At that point, the amplitude reaches its extreme condition, that is its maximum value. This is called resonance. That is shown as the highest peak in the figure when omega by omega n equal to 1 and epsilon is equal to 0. The magnitude will be infinite. The value of the magnitude will be infinity. So that is a case of resonance. As you can see, as the value of damping ratio epsilon increases, the peak of the magnification factor decreases. That is, the amplitude of vibration also decreases. So that is an inference. Now the term omega by omega n is called frequency ratio and can be represented using the letter R. And in that in the equation for magnification factor, you can substitute for omega by omega n as R, and on simplifying you will get this 1 by root of 1 minus r square the whole square plus 2 epsilon r the whole square. So that is magnification factor. It's actually a very important term. This actually represents what is the ratio of the amplitude of steady state vibration to that of the static vibration. Okay, so as we can see, when there is no damping, the amplitude goes to very high values. When there is less when damping is more, the magnification factor decreases. And at resonance, when there is no damping, the magnification factor reaches infinity. Next important topic is transmissibility. Transmissibility is actually a case where usually you might have seen the machineries which are bolted to the ground. Most of the machinery in lab equipments and etc. They are bolted to the ground. So when the machine is operating, certain amount of vibration will be transmitted to the ground. So our aim is to reduce the amount of vibration which is transmitted to the ground. So we'll keep some kind of stiffness or resilient members such as springs or dampers in between the machine and to the ground. So transmissibility is actually the ratio of the force transmitted to the ground to the force applied. that is transmitted force by applied force. If applied force is F and transmitted force is Ft, then transmissibility ratio Tr is equal to Ft divided by F. So that is transmissibility, that the amount of force which we transmit to the ground, it should be minimized. That is the aim of transmissibility. So in order to minimize that, we'll be placing dampers or some kind of resilient members in between the machine and the ground. So that is transmissibility ratio. Let's see what is the equation. So as you can see in this figure, there is a machine of mass m, the stiffness is there and damper is there. As you can see, the mass oscillates at a force, and the force is equal to F0 cos omega t. That is also a harmonic force. So this force will get transmitted to the ground. So we need to see that what amount of that force is being absorbed by the spring and the damper. So we'll see that. As you can see, this is also a system where there is a forcing function and a spring and a damper. So this is also a case of forced damped system. So the equation of motion will be mx double dot plus ex dot plus kx is equal to F0 cos omega t. In the earlier equation we had written F0 sin omega t. Anyway, it's a forcing harmonic function. It can be cos omega t or sin omega t. Both doesn't make any difference. So as you have seen, the steady state solution, x is equal to, that steady state solution is the part for particular integral which persists. The other part represented by the complementary function dies out after a particular time. So what persists is the solution, steady state solution, or x. So as we have seen, x is equal to capital X cos omega t minus phi, where x is equal to F0 divided by k minus m omega square plus c omega square. Now we know that the maximum spring force, the spring force is equal to kx and damping force is equal to cx dot. Substituting the value of x is equal to capital X cos omega t minus phi. So substituting the value of x and finding out the maximum spring force is equal to k into capital X and the maximum damping force is equal to c omega into capital X. This we get by substituting the value of x in these two cases. So these are the two maximum values. So the net force transmitted to the ground is actually the resultant of the spring force and the damping force. Okay, the spring force is kx and damping force is cx dot. The maximum value of spring force is k capital X and the maximum value of damping force is c omega into capital X. So these two forces contribute to the transmitted force. So Ft, transmitted force, is actually the resultant of the maximum spring force and the damping force. Taking x capital X outside, we can see that k square plus c omega the whole square. Substituting for the value of capital X as is written above, F0 divided by root of k minus m omega square the whole square plus c omega square into root of k square into c omega the whole square. Okay. Now transmissibility ratio as is defined as the ratio of the force transmitted to the force applied, which is equal to Ft divided by F0. So Ft we have found out the value as seen above, and dividing it by F0 you get root of k square plus c omega the whole square divided by root of k minus m omega square the whole square plus c omega square, which can be rewritten or rearranged, and we get the final form as root of 1 plus 2 epsilon omega by omega in the whole square by root of 1 minus omega by omega in the whole square plus 2 epsilon omega by omega in the whole square. This rearrangement we have already seen in the case of magnification factor. The same equation we are using here also. So that is transmissibility ratio. Transmissibility ratio is actually the amount of force which is transmitted to the ground compared to the force which is actually coming to the ground. So this can also be represented graphically. The y-axis shows transmissibility and x-axis shows the amplitude ratio frequency ratio omega by omega in, which is here is represented as r. As you can see, to the left of the value root 2 for r, where r omega by omega n, where omega by omega n is root 2, to the left of that and to the right of that, the graph is showing two different variants. So towards the left you can see that the transmissibility ratio is very high, that is the amount of force which is transmitted to the ground is very high, whereas towards the right side of root 2 the amount of force transmitted to the ground is very less, which means that in order to provide isolation, isolation means in order to transmit minimum amount of vibration to the ground, you have to choose a case where omega by omega n ratio is greater than root 2. if the value of omega by omega in is less than root 2, then you can see that the transmissibility is very high for different values of epsilon. Okay, when epsilon is 0, when there is no damping at all, you can see that the transmissibility is extremely high and it goes to infinity. And as the amount of epsilon increases, in figure it is shown as theta, as the amount of epsilon increases to 0.25 and 0.50, you can see that the peak of the transmissibility curve decreases. And as the value of r or omega by omega n is greater than root 2, you can see that the vibration gets, or the transmissibility gets gradually reduced. So root 2 is a key point there. So at that point, so that is all about transmissibility, and these are the basic, or the basic ideas about forced vibration. You can refer the textbooks for more details. I've just gone through just the sufficient parts of the syllabus, and which covers the syllabus. All of these points are there in the we have covered all of the points in the syllabus, and you can refer the textbooks for further clarification. And if you have got any doubt, you can also contact.